The topic of this panel discussion is Uniting Academia and Industry, Perspective on the BH Market. While values of higher education are many, the core one is to prepare the youth to become an important contributing member of society. Yet, the marketplace develops far faster than academia can adapt and follow. How do we bridge that gap? And what are the next steps that both academia and industry can do to bring better perspective to Bosnia and Herzegovina? It's my honor to announce our panelists, and they are Katarina Urosevic, Chief of Staff and Director of Corporate Communications at HTech; Emina Karahmet, PharmD; Vedad Pasic, Dean of the Faculty of Natural Sciences and Mathematics of the University of Tuzla. I'm welcoming you to the stage, and the host of this panel will be Una Karabek, Behaviors Foundation Scholar. Guys, stage is yours. Una, they're yours, and later on we will have a Q&A session, and you will be able to ask anything you're interested in.
First of all, do you hear me? Okay. First of all, to check the mic. Thank you, Valeria, for this lovely introduction. I'm really happy to moderate this panel, and I hope that you will enjoy, actually, the session. Personally, and as a student, I really think that this topic is very important for each and every one of us, both for what we actually do and where we want to be. Like, what's the next step? What's the next step after we finish the scholar cycle? What's the next step when we actually graduate? What is out there for us? So I would like here to allow our panelists to tell us actually something more about themselves. I believe that no one can actually present oneself better than the person itself. So please, we can start from Katarina. Tell us more about yourself and what's your motivation to be here.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation to be here. So as you mentioned, I'm the Chief of Staff and Director of Corporate Communications in HTech Group. HTech Group is a company that started in Belgrade, Serbia 10 years ago as a startup in a university incubator, which I think is fascinating and really interesting for you guys to hear, because it was really started by two students from the Belgrade University, and now it's grown into a company with more than 1,000 employees and locations across this region and clients across the globe. So HTech, I've been following HTech for more than 10 years, but only joined recently, about a year ago, the team. Previously, I was a physics graduate, so I'm not an engineer, but I have this STEM background. I never actually did research, but actually chose my found passion in working on science-related things, especially in science, technology, and innovation policy. So I spent more than 13 years working on policy aspects and on different policy instruments to better support research. One of the topics I was very passionate about throughout this time, working with both the World Bank, OECD, and also the government in Serbia, was how to improve business-academia collaboration. So I'm really grateful to be part of this panel to share some of these experiences, but also what a company like HTech can do to support this type of collaboration. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Katarina. Emina, could you please say something more about yourself?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. Do you hear me? Okay, hello everyone. My name is Emina Karahmet, and I'm working in a pharmaceutical company in Bosnia and Herzegovina, representative office of Berlin Chemie in Sarajevo. As a PhD student, I was studying here in Tuzla, but today I was promoted as a finished PhD. Actually, I started my career as a researcher in academia last year. Since that period, I actually took some participation in different projects that actually uniting academia and industry. And that's the reason I'm so happy because of today's panel discussion. I'll share my experience in that field, and I'll share my vision for the future. And that's the reason I would like to share what would be the next steps for the development of research projects and research science in this area. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emina. I believe that the audience will actually enjoy hearing about these next steps, because we are well aware that about research, it's not really the topic that's discussed much among the structures. So I'm really happy to hear your thoughts later. And Vedad, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vedad Pasic. I'm a professor of theoretical or pure mathematics. And for the past 5 years, I have also been the Dean of the Faculty of Natural Sciences and Mathematics at the University of Tuzla. It's also me and Emina crossed paths earlier on today when she received her degree of once again, congratulations. And Katarina, of course, pleasure to meet your acquaintance. Hope to have the opportunity to speak more later on. Thank you first and foremost for the opportunity to be here. I have been involved in education actively and working at the University of Tuzla, believe it or not, for the past 20 years. Started working in 2001 and was one of the people to actually start the Faculty of Natural Sciences and Mathematics in 2002. I did my first degree, second degree, and my third degree at the universities in the United Kingdom, hence the accent. Completely unintentional. It just happens. And I have been, though, back now in Bosnia since 2007, so I can't really be counted as diaspora anymore, although I used to be. So it is one of the things that I would like to be able to also speak about. My also very, very passionate endeavor in the last few years, which is, I presume, one of the reasons I was invited to participate here, is the strengthening of almost, unfortunately, non-existing links between academia and industry, and in particular enabling our current students and graduates to have a much easier and better transition from the academic endeavors towards more sort of applied and directly industrial / research / business environments is something that I believe very passionately in, and I'm very glad to be able to see some of my former and current students in the audience, and some of whom are prime examples of how this can successfully be done. And I'm looking forward to the discussion.
We're looking forward as well. Thank you so much. I'm very, very happy to actually host this and to discuss with you. So let's begin. I guess that time is a valuable resource, so let's start. I would like to ask all of you, you can answer whatever way you like. So how do you perceive from your own industry, from your own field of expertise, what are the main challenges actually in today's path from academia to industry? Like, what are the challenges that you face? What are the challenges that you faced previously as students, and what do you think are the main challenges of the students today? Whoever likes.
Okay, I will start. Thank you.
Start, thank you.
As a pharmacist, I see the big problem. Actually, there is very pure links between academia and industry, and I think the future of this field actually should be in development these linkages between industry and faculties and academia. The situation in Bosnia is that universities are very pure with research facilities, and that's the reason the researchers at the academia actually can't provide any, huge any new things, and I think the industry should provide some kind of foundations and some kind of grants for the academia in next period, and to ask academia scientists, academia researchers to involve in some kind of mutual projects, to collaborate and to ask actually scientists from the academia to solve the industrial daily problems. Because the situation is the academia is actually very rich with new knowledges, but very poor with experience and practice because of pure research facilities. And I think that the next step should improve actually the more grants and more collaboration between academia and industry.
So basically what you're saying is that it's really important that both industry and academia actually want to tackle the issue, right? That it has to be industry that actually, okay, we have this open for you, and that there have to be someone at the academia saying, okay, I want to do this, I want to apply for this grant, right?
Yes, I think actually that industry should ask more academia to involve in their problems, daily problem solving, and that would be great opportunity for new, just finished, young employees to get some jobs directly in industry, but the new researchers to get more experienced in some practical knowledge and some new practices as well.
Thank you very much. I would also like to ask you something more when we're on this. So considering that you're someone with a degree from both Bosnia and Herzegovina, from pharmaceutical university here and from Harvard Medical School, I would like to ask you maybe to draw us a parallel here. So maybe to be more specific, like what do you think that can maybe be improved in our academia, or what can actually be the alignment in order to follow some world standards?
Well, first of all, it's really important to know our universities can't at all be competitive to Harvard or Oxford or something like that. We can't even compare to the third world universities, because of these pure research facilities. And I think the great opportunity for our faculty, universities should be actually to adopt our educational programs, to make some collaborations with international universities, to change staff and students for some short period of time, to make their degrees outside at international universities. And that would be a great opportunity for our universities to get new knowledges, to get new practices, but to get new networking, because networking in these things are very important. And one more thing, to get the skills how to participate to some international projects, how to get foundation, because there are many European projects that actually can make foundation for research, but our academia staff doesn't know how to get this foundation, and I think the most important actually is to make some internationalization of our universities, to do one more thing. Our universities are compulsory at Bosnian language, so I think the English language should make optional or at least obligatory at master and PhD postgraduate level, because our staff really hard can publish their research work in some international high-level journals because of language barriers, and that's the reason our staff is very poorly rated at the international level, and I think we should provide these things, language barrier and foundation. And I think when we provide these things, I think we can make a little miracle here.
I definitely agree, and thank you for pointing this out. English is very important, which is why we all speak English here, which is why this panel is in English. Let's at least do what we can, right? Thank you so much. Would some of our other panelists like to give?
Oh, thank you.
Whoever likes.
It's great that we have the opportunity here to see experiences from different sectors, and we heard kind of what is the situation in life sciences and pharma. The situation in IT and generally in engineering is quite different. Thankfully, the IT sector has become a really competitive and really successful sector across the Western Balkan region, and there is so much opportunity now, a lot more than when I graduated from high school. I won't say when a lot of us actually left to study abroad, and even those who stayed to study in the region left for better job opportunities after finishing university here. The situation is quite different now. So there is a lot of opportunity, and it's no more that the biggest challenge is actually finding a job in IT. It's more of a challenge for us in the IT sector to get enough talents, because the opportunities are huge, and especially in the last 2 years with COVID, we see a huge trend in digitalization and the need to develop more digital products. So there are more exciting projects coming to the region. There is a lot more exciting engineering work to be done, and the quality of projects is increasing, so the opportunity is there for people. Now, some of the challenges we see, and in particular when it comes to this relationship between the universities and the private sector, is that because this is such a highly competitive market when it comes to the talents, companies tend to kind of have a one-prong approach in this collaboration. So their only and primary motivation is to get the best talent. And this is not necessarily always for the benefit of the universities, and it's not always necessarily for the benefit of the students themselves. So in this kind of beginning of your career, when you're starting, and I do remember clearly the beginning of my career, what was really a priority for me then, and I think what is kind of something that you need to focus on at that age, is to be surrounded with people from which you can learn a lot, is to be in an environment where you can really constantly develop. And to do this, you have to be working with other great engineers. You have to be working on really interesting projects, and you have to have the ability to kind of find where your interest lies. And it takes some time to discover that. And not necessarily will you know on your first or second year of university whether you want to be focused more on software development, or you're more into electronics or hardware, or you want to stay in academia and do kind of do more basic research. It will take time for you to discover where your passion lies and where your skills lie, and kind of find a good match between the two. So why I'm saying this, because there is a trend for companies to try to catch top talent as early as possible, and kind of bind them through scholarships and other forms to work with them over a course of time after graduation. Now, on one hand, this is a fantastic opportunity. That means that pretty much everyone who finishes software engineering in this region will not have much difficulty finding a job after they graduate. On the other hand, with this approach, it's very difficult to really explore your passion and find yourself in this beginning of your career. So I think there's a role there for universities to play in both protecting the students and making sure there's kind of a level playing field, and that students can see all the opportunities in front of them. Because at the moment, these opportunities are pretty huge, and that's fantastic. And sometimes you won't be able to see them if you too early focus very narrowly on a certain thing that is dictated either by the market or by the companies that are present there, and so on. So this is just one thing I wanted to mention. So there is a role. I think this collaboration has to go both ways for it to be successful in the long term. So it can't just be industry picking top talent and dictating kind of what should be studied and what are the trends. Of course, there should be input there, and the skills gap needs to be reduced by there being this dialogue between the private sector and academia, and kind of defining what the market trends are, what the needs are, and steering education in this direction. But on the other hand, universities play a crucial role, and none of us as companies would be here if it weren't for the amazing universities that are producing this top talent. And there was an article recently in Forbes that showcased kind of how Europe is this, and especially Southeast Europe is this forgotten market when it comes to top engineering talent, and kind of compared it to the US and saying how this is this undiscovered world of amazing talent. It's not undiscovered in the sense that we work with clients who are top technology companies from the Silicon Valley, from the US, from the EU. They work directly with our engineers. Our engineers are peers to, you know, CTOs and senior software architects in top global companies. And it's a level relationship. So definitely our universities are producing something that is quite amazing. And the success of the whole IT market in this region is really based on the fact that there is this incredible talent here that can work on these projects. So what I'm trying to say is that this relationship has to go both ways. And the way we in HTech have thought about what our strategy is when it comes to collaborating more and working with universities is, first of all, something that Emina also mentioned, and that's focusing more on research activities that we can do jointly. So it's not just about defining curricula or identifying top talent, but it's really bringing this opportunity, because we can access some of the most amazing R&D projects in the private sector globally. And we can bring in talent, not just in terms of graduated students, but also from professors and members of the academia here in the region to work on these amazing projects. And we've had some great success when it comes to this. So unfortunately, the funding sources are often not there to do kind of basic research in this setup of business academia collaboration. Thankfully, in Serbia, there is an instrument. It's called the Collaborative Grant Scheme, and it's really a highly competitive grant where you can receive support very heavily co-funded by the private sector, because there has to be good buy-in from the private sector to participate in these type of research projects. But we got a grant, and we worked together with the University in Niš and the University in Novi Sad on developing this soft grip 3-finger robotic hand. It was an extremely successful project that created a prototype that we are now able to kind of upsell to some of our amazing clients and continue working with the universities on this topic. So we have this great collaboration with the University of Niš on robotics, and there is so much more opportunity to bring in such projects and to work with universities across the region. We also have a lot of great projects in medtech, and we've worked closely with the University in Belgrade and some of the hospitals that are part of the University of Belgrade to bring in this domain expertise to develop some really cool devices in the medtech space as well. So the focus should really be on there being a great benefit for the university as well in bringing in interesting research to the universities, creating a level playing field where students can see all the opportunities in front of them, and engaging also students from kind of from the point where they already know, either in their master's thesis or PhD thesis, where they can work on industry projects as well. This model of industrial PhD and master's program is not very developed in this region, but it's a fantastic opportunity. So it's a model in which you are working on basic research, you're working on your PhD, but you're co-mentored by the private sector. You can really work on things that can have immediate impact on some problems in the private sector that are good in terms of the trends and what's on the market, what the needs are, and typically industry co-finances these types of PhDs, and this is something we would really like to engage with universities on as well.
Thank you so much, Katarina. I really think that this is a great initiative, and I'm really glad that in Serbia there are such initiatives that actually support this collaboration, that we recognize that there's a challenge here. So before I ask any further questions, I believe that Mr. Vedad can actually tell us more about the perspective of exactly what Katarina said here. So also tell us, how do you perceive this? The same question. What are the main challenges from academia to industry, and what do you think about everything that our previous panelists said?
Well, first and foremost, it's very easy to be a part of this panel, because the previous two speakers have said the majority of things that I wanted to, and I fully concur on almost everything that's been said. I've had this experience personally as hitting the bureaucratic red tape wall that often happens, unfortunately, in the Western Balkans in general. And one of the reasons that I decided to go into more administration, I'm not an administrator, I'm by choice a researcher, a scientist. But 5 years ago, I realized, more or less, that unless people in the positions such as mine was at the time take this responsibility, then we're not going to really have the opportunity to talk about these things within several years. In particular, with regards to what Katarina and Emina said, I stated that the three main objectives should, in academia in particular, to my faculty, but not only in my faculty, in any, especially industry-related field, should be just three, and these are excellence, excellence, and excellence, and to paraphrase Lenin. Excellence in teaching, excellence in research, and excellence in international collaboration. And of course, goes without saying with industry at the same time. What we have done immediately, then you have to realize it takes time to change things in academia and in education. Already in 2016 and 17, we gathered a group of people from the IT sector here in dominantly Tuzla or in the region, and asked them, look, what is it that a graduate of mathematics/computer science should know once they graduate, and in order to adapt more easily once they get employment in one of your companies? And this is what Katarina said. This is one of the first things that we do need much, much more of. It is the first step that industry must get involved, not needs to, must get involved in curricular reform. And academia should be prepared to take in the criticism that comes from industry, but vice versa. The industry must realize as well that academia is not only purely there to deliver a product, i.e. an employee at the end of the studies. As Katarina said, we need to give breadth. We want to have young, best of the best. We want you to go into research. Of course we do. We want you to become our colleagues. But again, we are absolutely well aware that this is impossible. That everyone is going to be a PhD, that everyone is going to be a professional scientist/researcher, or 50-50. So this is one thing that we have done, and we have implemented it, but it takes time. We are only now, after 4 years, you have to wait 4 years for the first cohort to graduate, and currently we are in that first cohort of people, young people at the Department of Mathematics studying computer science and mathematics, which is something that I studied as well many, many years ago, more than I care to admit, that are now currently involved in placement, in business placement. We are, as far as I know, the only faculty, the only study program that has obligatory 1-year placement of students during their final year of studies within a company. We don't have many students, though. To study mathematics is hard. Let's not beat around the bush. It's a hard degree to finish. But at the same time, the rewards are multiple. If you do choose to take the plunge, let's call it, and have faith that does give rewards at the end of it. I mean, we have 0 unemployed people, 0 graduates of mathematics who are unemployed, unless they really want to be unemployed. This is the only opportunity. So currently they are embedded, at the same time taking their classes, so we're not separating this out. We're not like, first you have your classes, then you go have practice. No. So during the entire semester, they go into the company, work there for 1 or 2 days, come back to the faculty, listen to their lectures. This is something that is, I think, should be much more normal. And strangely enough, some of the students who only had it as an elective chose to do it. So they not only the ones that were forced to, quote unquote, do this. Second, though, is what Katarina mentioned, is also we would like to very much so, and I think there is a lot of much more possibility to do this here in the Western Balkan region is the research and development collaboration between academia and business. And to actually exploit the fact that we do have some very smart people working at some of our universities, like Katarina gave an example of our colleagues from Novi Sad and Niš just previously. But at the same time, you have to realize academics are stupid, business-wise. We have no idea, quote unquote, on average, how the business world works. Nor should we. Nor should we. This is not our job. Our job is to do research and give our knowledge to the next generation. That's it. I mean, yes, if we do have some connection with business, this is for the better, but on average, no, we don't know this. So please be our partners with regards to this. Teach us from your perspective what we can do, and then from our side, I'm sure the benefits would be exponentially mutually beneficial. Coming back to what you asked, and to finish with off, and I'm sure that we will have more topics to talk about with regards to this, but yes, most certainly this is a platform that has the opportunity to change things. In particular, I also invite you, because just by accident and unrelated to my current job, I'm also now the head of the board for the cantonal board for science and technology of the Tuzla canton. And please, this is a venue that can be able to interconnect academia, government, and business, and overcome, hopefully, the huge amount of red tape otherwise that is present in putting all of these together. And gatherings such as this one can go a long way in enabling us to do just that. But again, to reiterate, it takes time. It will not happen overnight. Help us, though, to influence the people who are decision makers, especially with regards to educational policies. Our educational policy in Tuzla canton is almost non-existent. Please, it is not feasible that nothing against people studying medical sciences. Quite the opposite, my father was a doctor. But it is unfeasible, it's untenable that we enroll more than 20 classes of medical high school every year in Tuzla canton. This is producing cheap labor for Germany. This is not in the interests of Bosnia and Herzegovina or the region or of our futures. We need to have a policy, and much more influence can be achieved if not only us from academia say it, but if you guys say it as well.
Thank you so much. Actually, you highlighted something very important that I wanted to bring out in the following minutes. That's the key role of academia, industry, and the government, and the policy-making process. So I would like to ask you a brief sub-question. As you have experience as a dean and as a professor and in all this sector, considering you have a first generation of this new methodology, which I congratulate on, could you please tell us the main challenges that you faced? How actually fast can academia follow the pace of the industry? How can we actually bridge the things we're talking about? I mean, we know that we need policies, we know that we need collaboration, but how fast is that actually happening? Because as you said, academia doesn't really feel the need of these things. Maybe industry actually feels this more, because industry is okay, we know what we need from universities, but what actually is happening here? How the academia can follow?
Well, yes, this is one of the main questions. On the other hand, I think we should relax. Okay. In the sense that we, both us from academia and the industry, we cannot expect a finished product to exit university. This is impossible. This is not going to happen. But we need to be able to work together for the transitional period, for those who choose to go into industry and business, for them to have this much easier way of starting to work in a company, which is a completely different setting from being a student, no matter what level on. Yes, I mean, it is, again, impossible for the curricula to continuously follow all the technological changes that are happening in months, let alone in years. However, if we do strive towards excellence, and if we do especially fund the best among the students, not only the best ones, the promising ones, and also if we give them the opportunity to know what it is to live in the real world, quote unquote, then the overall impact is actually not going to be any less than if we were just, producing for the market. Quite the opposite. We need to be at the same time producing, as we say, members of the academic community, and at the same time giving them the tools, know-how, and the knowledge to also be, if they choose to go in that path, live and work in the real world. However, much more dialogue between on every level, let it be curricular reform, let it be research and development projects, let it be red tape overcoming in government, for example. We can work together easily, and especially does help that a lot of the faces that I see here today and work with are people who were my former students. So they know what it is that are the main challenges that were behind us, and of course we do try to overcome them as much as possible. However, it's never going to happen that we're going to go hand in hand with all the changes that are happening much more quickly in the technology sector. But there are steps that we can take in order to make this, at least transitional period, a much less stressful and time-consuming process.
Thank you so much. So I also have another question for Katarina to go back to this, because it's all the similar topic until we actually come to solutions to that bridge to cross. Katarina, as a Chief of Staff and Director of Corporate Communications at HTech, and as you mentioned, you also as a company, of course, want to acquire the best ones. How do you actually face all the other group? I mean, every company wants the best, right? So what are the main challenges that you face as an employer with new coming workers? I mean, there is a limited supply of the best ones, right? So what are your challenges that you face?
Well, the challenge is not only attracting top talent, but it's also retaining top talent. So this is a highly, like we already mentioned, competitive market, and attrition rate, so the pace at which people leave companies and switch companies, is extremely high. Thankfully, our rates are far below what the industry standards are for this region, and I think it boils down to primarily three main factors that determine this. I've mentioned a few of them before, but just to kind of repeat that and really, we think it's strategically important, and so I'll just say it again. Working on exciting projects is something that matters to you as an engineer, especially when you're early in your career. So the ability to also be part of the creative team, to be part of the team that's defining what the solution will be, and not just executing on tasks that are given to you, is something that drives you forward, that constantly develops you, and that makes you feel happy, in your day-to-day jobs. You're not just getting, a lot of the outsourcing models that exist in this region are based on the fact that you are given, companies will sell hours of engineers. Here are 3 hours of a Java engineer, and I'll charge it this much, and then this engineer will get a number of tasks to execute on. And this is a model, it's great that there are these jobs as well, and there's great that there are, many opportunities, but it requires for you to be part of a team. It requires for you to be working on something that is creative and challenging and exciting, to be willing to stay there for a long time, and to develop your career in this company or on this project. That's one thing. The second thing is to be working on technologies that are really current, that are globally relevant, and that are kind of the latest technologies. And it's not easy for companies in this region to get access to these types of projects. But we see it more and more, and HTech has been really successful in being able to work on core technologies for global tech companies, and not just on some side projects or just kind of working on some legacy code that needs to be updated and things like that. So that's another thing that's really important to engineers in their careers. And the third thing is having a constant career development opportunities. So having someone who's really working with you to develop your career, to see what your skills are, where you should develop your competencies, and to be there to support you and to give you opportunities to develop. Something that, I mean, every company will have kind of a career path, or every company will have a career development office or a people office or HR, depending on how they define it. But without growth and without expansion, there is very little opportunity to actually grow within the company. So if you're in a stable setup of 100 people that are working on, you know, with a few clients and that are not growing very rapidly, it will be very difficult to take on more and more responsibility, to develop your skills in different ways, and each person will have kind of different affinities. So you should also kind of be aware of what your skills are and where your passion lies. And some people will want to work more in people management, account management, will want to be the client-facing person, will want to be the person who's taking care of the team, who's managing the project, and will have these types of skills. Others will really want to focus on the technology, will want to develop themselves as an expert in a particular technology stream. And to be able to have these different career paths and to continuously grow on them, you need to be part of a team that's growing together with you and that's supporting you in this growth. So I think these are the three main factors that really help us retain some of the top talent that we're able to hire. I have to reflect on two things that Vedad said, because I think they really resonated strongly with me. One of them is, as you mentioned, that the end result of the education university is not this end product, and things don't stop there. I remember growing up, on my door it said Dipol Ing Milan Todorovic, and as a kid I was like, why does it say Dipol Ing on my door? It was my grandfather's name, and we lived with my grandparents at the time. Why is this so important? And actually, because I don't know if it's because of my perspective from studying in the US, and we talked a little bit about these huge differences in the education models in the US and here. University degree is not the be-all and end-all of everything. It's not, okay, now I'm a diplomirani engineer and I'm, the king of the world and don't have to continuously develop. Technologies change rapidly, and especially in our sector, we see it, in 1 or 2 years, everything can change. And we can talk all about curricula, and we can talk about how to help, progress what is being taught in university. But really, the universities are there to ingrain you with problem-solving skills, to set your mind, to be able to think about problems, to identify them, to find solutions. And that is, I actually chose to study physics knowing I don't want to be a researcher, because I realized that this is also kind of like math, a really hard thing to study. And if I'm able to solve problems in physics, well, hopefully I'll be able to solve a lot of problems later in life. So it's really, universities should be listening, academia should be following what the trends are in the market and so on, but should never lose this kind of core value of developing literally your brains into being like really able to solve problems on a day-to-day basis, whatever the problem in front of you is, whatever the technology you're working on is, whether you will tomorrow be working with a client in the logistics sector or you will be developing a medtech device. You don't know now what you'll be working on, but the way you'll think about this problem is not that much different from this. Yeah.
Thank you for highlighting this, which is actually really interesting because I wanted to highlight the same thing. I wanted to highlight this perspective of us as students. Okay, I am here sitting, moderating this panel, being event coordinator of Futures Leaders Summit, talking to and listening to all these people and everything. But we're, after all, most of us, we're just students. So what is it that you need from us? This is an interesting question, but there are students that want something. Students want to do research papers. Students want to actually research something in deep, to maybe work in engineering, maybe to work on something more people-oriented or something more engineering-oriented. But what do you need from students to bridge the gap? I mean, students are a huge part of all this story. So what do you think is our role here? Whoever wants can, yes, sure, of course. Go ahead, Emina.
Thank you. As a recent student, I could say I was acting by my feedback, by my professor's feedback. So I would like to conclude here. The most important thing for the students is acting from the professor's feedback, but for academics too, to acting from the industry's feedback. I would like to highlight two very important things to previous people said. Mr. Vedad said, yes, they need, okay, yes, they need curriculum changing, and they doesn't have business mindset. That's the problem. As someone who is addicted to business, pharmaceutical business for more than 10 years, first thing I should accept and first thing I should change in my mind is business thinking. You know, what's profit? Profit dictates rules of the games. And that's the thing the academia should know for some next steps for changing the curriculums. And the second thing Katarina actually said, is a very, very excellent example of how industry can be successful because of collaboration with academics. IT industry should be example how things can go in a very excellent way. Because pharmaceutical industry in this region isn't so development. That's the problem. There is no collaboration between faculties and the industry. Of course, our pharmaceutical industry is very expensive, you know, much more expensive than IT industry, I think. But it's not the it shouldn't be the reason why not to collaborate, because even in this level, I think we should actually make much more if we have more collaboration between both these sides, you know. And actually, critical thinking is something we would like students have, and the other thing. A critical thinking in the way, you know, to realize the problem, to solve it, to offer some opportunities for some solution for the problem, and the other thing is acting by the feedback, because industry and academics, professors will give some feedback, and student, if want some improvement, they should act from the feedback. That's my opinion.
Thank you so much. And feedback is actually what is really important. And you even partially answered to the question. I mean, you all answered to the final question quite a bit. But a specific question I have for you is also, how far do you think we are, maybe from the pharmaceutical perspective, from the structural changes that we need for our students to maybe improve and to actually bring some new perspectives on the BH market? You said it yourself, pharmaceutical companies and that industry is rather expensive. So what do you think that students need? How do you think that collaboration might be improved in the following years, perhaps?
Well, according to these previous conclusions, I think the curriculum change would be a good start for this. Make some international collaboration to make opportunity for Bosnian students to go outside, to get some new knowledge, skills, to came back, to make it itself highly rated in the international market, because it would be great opportunity for our universities to development their strategy, knowledge rated, but to make this collaboration because of funding, because of networking, because of new opportunities. Because everything in this world I see now from this perspective is about networking, about opportunities, and about collaboration. You know, because if you don't have collaboration, you can't do anything. You can do anything by yourself, you know, because one man can do some small thing, but if we collaborate from different industries, from different sides, the situation in Bosnia is even different departments at one faculty doesn't collaborate. Even the same faculties in one country doesn't collaborate, and we have to change it. The first step is to make collaboration between departments at one university, to make collaboration between the same universities in one country, then in the region. And actually one project started this year, Erasmus Plus project, actually that made collaboration between the Faculty of Pharmacies in this region, the leading university, Sarajevo University, and I was involved in that particular discussion in this panel this July, and the conclusion of it was pretty the same, like this conclusion. We have to make collaboration between universities, first of all in the countries, and then international collaboration with the universities in this region, then in the world.
I absolutely couldn't possibly agree more. Collaboration is actually the key, which is why we all here are here to collaborate. I had a question to save it for my end before I give word to these amazing people here in the audience. But the question was basically, in your opinion, what are the good practices that can be utilized in following years? Like, what should we do? But basically, you all answered that in your words already. So if you could just summarize some main points, like what is the message that you want to convey to these young people? What is the message you want to convey to everyone who's actually watching this, and to policy makers that actually can make some of these things work, maybe from the technical side for the academia? So what's your message? And then I will give the word to the audience. I guess they can ask some more relevant questions that are from different perspectives. So who wants to start? Sure, of course.
Well, as an educator, I think my summarization could actually be well related to what you asked previously. Is what do I expect from students? I expect more self-reliance. I want you to try to do things on your own, not wait for it to be served up on a silver platter by somebody else. I think one of the things that was mentioned, do you expect the government to provide you with jobs at the end of your studies? No.
Exactly what I wanted to ask you.
This is something that I saw a few years ago on Bosnian state television. A young student in Sarajevo, I believe, doesn't matter what of, just received this degree, bachelor's or master's, and he said, now we have done what was our duty, now it's up to the state to give us jobs. I quote. And this is something that has long, if ever it was true, it is most certainly no longer such. One thing that I do expect immediately from my students, because I'm very often a teacher in the first year of study, so they're still freshly out of high school. You are no longer children, and I'm not a pedagogue. I will not treat you like children. I do not expect you to come to my classes because you have to. I will not take attendance, I don't, nor grade you on it. However, I do expect you to want to come to classes, to learn something, especially now that everything is at your disposal. I mean, I was a student only 20 odd years ago. This is not that long ago, and I needed to go to a library to pick up a book if I wanted to find something out. Now I take out my mobile phone and Google it, let alone other things. So, and then I ask my students, so guys, how many times have you gone to whatever, let's not endorse anyone, but some cheap airline website, and decided to go maybe that weekend to Berlin, 5 of you, to rent a flat on Airbnb or something, and spend probably less money than you would spend going out on a Friday night. How many times have you done that? I asked them, and invariably the answer is 0. I said, why not? Let alone talking about things that are related to your futures. We're talking about your now. This is one thing that Katarina has said that I really like, is that it is a rite of passage going to university. It's not only that you are imbued with knowledge, you are becoming, during this rite of passage, adults. And also problem solvers. No matter what your field, you're solving problems. Okay, in mathematics a little bit more straightforwardly, but also if you study, I don't know, architecture or archaeology or meteorology or art or drama. Also, we should not forget, we must also have, the university is not called university for nothing. I like originally, actually, strangely enough, Belgrade University was called Beogradsko sveučilište, while the University of Zagreb was originally called Univerza u Zagrebu. Now it's sort of switched, but sveučilište means you study everything. A university is not only for directly related things to profit. It must not be. I am proud of the fact that we have drama school, which will never be profitable, never. But my mentor used to be the head of Department of Mathematics at University College London, which has an annual turnover of 27 million pounds. The Department of Mathematics has that turnover. And I asked him, so, how come? And he said, well, we have a lot of students, we have a lot of endowments, but at the same time, we are well aware that we fund the other departments that are non-profitable. But I'm proud of the fact that we have one of the 5 departments of archaeology in the United Kingdom. And we fund it. And we should fund it. Let's not forget, all the engineers have to live somewhere, not only work somewhere. One of the biggest problems that I find from young people that I talk to who have got jobs is the quality of life. It's one of the main reasons why even people with very good salaries leave Bosnia and Herzegovina. Because in Tuzla, for example, or in Sarajevo even, what will you do with your money once you buy your flat and you buy your car and you solve your financial problems? How many concerts are you going to be able to go to? How many theater plays? How is your nightlife going to be like? What is the band going to be playing that night? Without artists, ladies and gentlemen, life is not worth living. Never forget that yin goes with yang. And please do always remember that profit should be one of the factors, but most certainly, especially in things like academia and teaching, should not be the sole motivator. We have to have breadth of opportunity for all, and one of the things that you can help with is exactly that. Let's give the opportunity for the young people to study what they love, what they will give the most in. Not only to study it because I can get a good job afterwards. You will be the best if you do what you love. I think I've said enough.
Thank you so much. Now it's up to ladies. Who is about to go first?
It's really hard to go after this, How do I say something better than that? No, that was great. I don't know. You asked what do we now expect from students, and I would have maybe only one expectation from you at this point, and that's to be proactive. Don't be reactive. Don't wait for things to happen to you. In some sectors, there will be a lot of opportunities, and they'll be thrown at you, and you can just sit back and pick which one you like. in some sectors, it won't be like that. In some sectors, you'll have to find the opportunity or even build it yourself. But even if you're in IT, even if you're in engineering, proactivity is something that you will need throughout your career, throughout your life. And already as a student, you can start building that. Just by the fact that you're sitting with us here on stage and that you've organized this event and solved a number of problems to get this done and to get everybody in the room and to get the speakers in the room and the agenda lined up and us all responding to your emails over the last few days means you've solved a challenge. You've done something that's outside of what is just purely expected of you as a student, and you've built some skills through that. And I think what I've really appreciated about my education in the US is that the focus was on building skills rather than just acquiring knowledge. Obviously, knowledge is important, and there are a number of areas where you have to have a lot of knowledge to be able to do things, but skills are super important. And by doing all these things that are not necessarily required of you, by throwing yourself out there and trying different things, especially as a student, you can have so many of these opportunities to do this type of exciting work. You'll learn a lot, and you'll develop yourselves through this. I think it's maybe what I wanted to add.
Thank you. Yeah, of course.
I would like to say one more thing, because this project is actually organized by Bosnian Future Foundation. I would like to support this project and to say this is the great opportunity for the students to develop their skills, to make networking, to know the people, and actually to be proactive, as Katarina say, because this is the most important skill you actually can get at the university. Proactivity. Everything is about proactivity.
Thank you so much. I guess this means not only a lot to me, but to everyone else, because every single one person here is here because he and she wants to be a change maker. So if we wrap this up, let's just give these change makers a chance to ask questions. Audience, raise your hands. And we have a first question and second question and third question. Can our Laila, I think, yes. Okay.
First of all, hello, my name is Matteo, and it was really nice to hear your stories and your opinions about all of this. So I'm not sure if I have concrete questions rather than thoughts, and I want just to hear your opinions about it, okay? So I am a second-year master student at mathematics and computer science in Mostar, and I was really angry the first and second year of my university life, I guess, because I always was told, okay, I learned these stuffs and it makes sense, but how can I get from that to HTech, or I mean these big companies like Netflix, Apple, Google or something, and always people responding, wait, when you start working you will learn everything. But I go to college to learn, to study. Why I have to wait 5 years to then go and study everything that I need? So first of all, I would like to hear your opinions about, I'm sure that we as students need to work on ourselves, but I'm pretty much sure that a teacher's responsibility is important as well. So I think the selection of the teacher should be more careful. If someone wants to really be great at his job, he should love it. And we see often at a faculty or even a high school, there's always one teacher, it's amazing, he's really nice, we like to go to his classes and everything, but the others are not so great. So the selection should be more carefully done because there are people who love to teach and they can't get the opportunity because jobs aren't available. So what's your opinion about this? And as well, does a teacher need to collaborate more with companies? Because how can someone teach you something if they didn't do these kind of things in real life? So that's my question for now.
Okay, so who would like to answer?
I think I may start because I think I'm most related to that. I fully agree with you, in fact. Marcelo, Lisa.
Oh,
Matteo, sorry, Matteo. Yeah, Matteo, I mean, you're right. I mean, when I was growing up, I was convinced that I'm going to be a doctor because my dad's a doctor, my grandfather was a doctor, my uncles were doctors. Sure, I'll be a doctor. Then I went to high school, and my by far most inspirational teacher was my math teacher, and my biology and chemistry teachers were boring as hell. So I went to see my dad in 1996. I said, look, Dad, I want to study maths and computer science. So he said, okay. Are you sure you don't want to go into, you know, this, that? Like, nah. This is unfortunately often the case. And this is not something that is only related to schools or universities just in Bosnia or in this region. Yes, we need to do more to inspire the best among us to be the transferers of knowledge. However, Matteo, I can tell you for a fact that currently the faculty of natural science and mathematics, we have 0 students who want to be teachers. So this is a major issue overall for the future. If everyone wants to go just into business or research and not only into teaching in primary and high school, then something needs to be done with regards to this. However, yes, we need to have the more collaboration between people who teach, whether it is on university level or below, with the real world. But, you know, there is that joke, it's like those who can do and those who can't teach. And unfortunately, this is very often the case, that people go into teaching if all else fails. And this is something that is not good for any society. Again, not only in Bosnia, not only in Serbia, Croatia, or this happens in the States, this happens in Great Britain and Germany, etc. It is a massive worldwide problem that needs to be solved in the sense because, well, yeah, we want to have the best among us to be transferers of knowledge. However, in practice, it works like somewhat different. But please help us out. I mean, that's, and I absolutely agree with you. Not everyone who's at University of Tuzla, let's go just stay there, really is particularly great in transferring of knowledge. But maybe he or she is good at something else, like collaborating with industry or doing projects, or writing books or something like this. So yes. You have touched upon a sore point for me. I agree with you, but it is something that we need your help and your feedback. Okay, let me come back just to that question with just 1 or 2 more sentences, I promise, not to go be... Every time I, as an administrator, I get feedback from students about their teachers, I always get straight A's to all the teachers. Everyone is super happy with their teachers. I can't go inside every classroom and follow what goes on inside it. This is impossible physically. So I rely upon the feedback of students, and this is something that you take for granted. This is the only chance you have to actually grade the people who have been your teachers. And of course, not everyone, but on average you take this very lightly. And you just do it, and all the teachers are great. Don't. Talk to your teachers, talk to your vice deans, talk to your heads of departments. If you have an issue, in particular if it's a serious issue, let's not even go there, but you know what I mean. Most certainly communication. And do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. It is your right. Fight for it. Even if it does seem like it's unsurmountable, yes, you can, most certainly. Sorry if I was too wide, but thank you, Matteo, for your questions.
Thank you.
I'm actually very happy that you're willing to ask and to respond, and we have 2 minutes, so I will ask those 2 questions to be brief and 2 responses to be. So who is going to get the mic? No, don't worry. Don't worry.
Good afternoon, everyone. So
Good
I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Dr. Farooq Sher. My background is chemical engineering, and I'm assistant professor at Nottingham Trent University. So first of all, I would like to thank these Future Leaders Summit organizers. A very good opportunity for the young peoples. I'm here for a week for a visit, and I noticed two things here. The people who are working in universities, they never had exposure to go outside the country and work or study. But that is very good. Dr. Pasic, he has been to UK. And I noticed one thing that in Bosnia, the research facilities are basically very poor. And main reason behind that is, which I mentioned, that the academics people never been outside Bosnia for study or for work. And I like to ask the question, as Dr. Pasic, he has been to United Kingdom for his degrees from PhD, and it's more than 10 years he is back. I've been to Tuzla University as well. so what is, definitely you know everything, how to apply research grants, how to get the funding and develop the laboratory facilities. So did you contribute anything, in last 10 years towards the development of the research facilities in Tuzla University? Because I have been to Sarajevo, I've never seen anything over there. The most important thing is that they don't have funding or anything. Even simple scanning electron microscope, it's very surprising that all Bosnia don't have even a single scanning electron microscope. They're sending their samples in Serbia for analysis. And even if you go to third world countries, India or Pakistan, and if the university which are not ranked anywhere in the world, they are having those basic facilities for analysis. And it's very good speech from Katarina. As she mentioned, she's graduated from US. So there is just one advice. You have a very good speech, impressive for young people, but it would be great if you can just give some simple example. What you did, just one thing. So these people sitting here young, they will be passionate, so tomorrow they have to do something. So if you can just tell them, okay, what you did, just one thing when you're coming back from abroad. And the most important thing, Emina mentioned very good thing, that critical thinking and internationalization is very important for the Bosnian people for the future development. So sorry about that, a bit long question, but I would like to thank you everyone for having me here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the question. So this is the who is going to give the answer, and with that we finish this panel. We have 2 more questions, but unfortunately we don't have time. But that's exactly what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Like, feel free to approach our panelists to ask them all the questions you might have. Okay? Okay. So who is about to answer?
I don't know. I guess Vedad will answer on kind of the research facilities in Bosnia and the opportunities. I also know quite a bit about this. I've been involved in regional R&D policy for quite some time. And yes, there's been a huge lack of funding across the region for a very extended period of time. The biggest opportunity that this region has is participation in EU framework programs for research. And there's actually good news from a few days ago, is that Bosnia, even though there was some concern, will join the rest of the Western Balkans in Horizon Europe in the next financing framework, which means that researchers from Bosnia will have the same opportunity as everybody in the EU to access research funding grants from the EU and these resources. The EU used to give us funding for the Western Balkans, targeted especially for research infrastructure, to kind of boost the capacity. They don't do that anymore, so we're now in this region competing against all of Europe on equal terms through a competitive process that's internationally peer-reviewed. So the success rates for this region are slightly lower than EU average, but Bosnia was able to kind of incur more than 8 million euros in research funding in the previous financial framework, and hopefully we'll do a lot more in the next one as well. But to answer your question that was directed towards me, which wasn't this, what did I do? Let's think, I can go through different parts of my career, and I've did a lot of zigzagging in terms of changing my career path and not going down this kind of strictly predicted straight line that was set for me, coming from also an academic family of all physicists. I'm the black sheep in the family without a PhD. but something I did as a student. So I worked in the dining hall, and it's pretty typical in the US that you have a job while you're studying, and mine was to work in the dining hall. So I started by cleaning dishes and serving food and cleaning the floors after the dinner was over. And it was this dining hall where about 2,000 students ate all of their meals throughout the day. But I quickly became the shift manager. Then after 6 months, I kind of, I don't know, I proposed how we take the trash cans out so that we don't get so dirty while we do it. And, you know, there's a better way to do it if we organize so and so. So anyway, I didn't take this, okay, oh my God, I'm in the US, I have to work to have enough money to buy my books or go out for dinner with my friends. But I saw this as an opportunity. I had an enormous amount of fun doing this job. I progressed, so at the end of the end of 2 years, I was the manager of the whole dining hall, and I had 150 employees that I was managing the whole setup of the dining hall. And I don't joke about this, I think it's actually true. I think this experience, these 4 years managing the dining hall for a huge student facility was a really valuable experience for my career. Probably more so than any individual quantum mechanics course that I took over college. This is just an example of how something that's doesn't seem like it or seems completely unrelated to anything I've done in my careers afterwards has really impacted some of my skills and boosted my confidence in a way to work with people, to work in teams, and has built certainly some skills that I'm using today.
Thank you so much, and I'm really sorry that we can't answer all the questions, but as our panelists, I'm really sure that they will be willing to retroactively answer to everything. It's been nothing but a pleasure to talk to you all. Thank you for participation. Thank you for your engagement. And now I guess we move to the next thing on our agenda.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.